Well, it's time for that Double Dog Dare You daily, delightfully, deliriously dumb dad jokes by Daryl. And today is June the 7th. Now, that means a lot of things to a lot of people, but it really means something special to me. That is the actual day that my father left this world in 1988. Now, I say my father left this world, but his life lingers on. But it's also, and ironically, National Chocolate Ice Cream Day. Now, I don't think he knew that at the time, and I don't think he picked that intentionally. But it's a little sense of humor between my dad and me that he would do something like that. Like, I don't want you to forget me, so I'm going to die on the day that we celebrate chocolate ice cream because we both loved it. So, anyway, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about chocolate ice cream, but mostly about my dad. Because chocolate is really older than vanilla in popularity. Vanilla became much popular much later. And the earliest known frozen chocolate recipe is from Naples, Italy in 1692 in a book called The Modern Steward. Now, it came to the United States thanks to Thomas Jefferson in the 18th century. He was over in Europe and fell in love with it and brought it over here. Today, you can get it anywhere. We've got chocolate upon chocolate, triple chocolate, Rocky Road chocolate. So today is a day to celebrate the chocolate ice cream. But it's also used to celebrate things. And so I'm going to use it today to help celebrate the life of Randolph R.C. Peebles, born on February 19th, 1920, in Canoe, Alabama. And he died on this earthly life on June 7th, 1988, when he resided in Valley, Alabama. They took him to the hospital in LaGrange, Georgia, and that's where he's officially pronounced dead. But he loved the valley. He loved the Canoe. He loved Summerdale. He loved the people. And he had a lot of great lessons for us to do. See, his dad died when my father was only 9 years old. And he lost, by 9 years old, he had two older sisters that had died. And he had two little brothers and a mother. And so he dropped out of school to work for the family on the potato sheds. And in that process, he learned a lot. He learned a lot by doing. And he ended up kind of entering at an early age into the military, the war. And Roosevelt signed the documents about 2 weeks before Roosevelt died, so my dad could come back to be with his mother before she died, and he got back in time. Now, the picture on the right is his mother, and the picture next to her is my mother, his wife. And then the picture behind him is a piece of artwork I did about Jesus, a collage. And he told me that in a little church, when he was a little boy, is when he got baptized and accepted Jesus as his Savior. Now, it probably was right about when he was 9 years old. And the church that he probably did that in was Elam Baptist Church, where our grandmother and grandfather that were from England and Creek Indian, they started a church and a school down there. And this past summer, after 200 years anniversary, I found it and found her grave and so forth. But that's the church probably where he was baptized. And when he made a commitment, he made a commitment. And now he wasn't a churchy kind of guy, but he loved the Lord and did everything he could to further that. Now, one of the things he started off when he got out of the service and all, he started off in textiles, and he's a hard worker, fast worker, and he got paid by piecework. And so he was actually doing so much work that he was making more than some of the supervisors. I believe there was a little jealousy involved, and they lied about him. And there's one thing that he couldn't stand, lying about somebody. So he packed up his bags and got him some books on carpentry, got him a job working for other people, learning how to be a carpenter, gathered up his tools, and eventually opened up his own cabinet shop and his own business because he didn't let things like that stand in his way. While he was working for the other people, he knelt down and crushed his knee, and they had to do a knee operation on him. Later on, when he was building our house, a saw kicked back and cut off 3 fingers of his right hand. Never stopped him, never slowed him down, just kept on going. And so one of the things I wanted to let you know about was these items here in front of me are quite precious because he had to learn to read better so he could learn to work better. And even after all that working, when he was disabled at 58 with arthritis and then eventually died at 68, but during that time, there's no crumpled up aluminum can there. And that reminds me of the fact that even when he couldn't work, he would get a stick and he'd go out and he would help. He was one of the first green people, I guess. He was recycling way back then, and to gather up all those tin cans and bring them in for recycling. And that little cup there reminds me that, when you go to church and you have communion, you got that little old cup when you finish drinking, you got to put it somewhere. He went down to that church and he measured everything and he cut out little brackets. So when you finish drinking your communion cup, you had a place to put your cup. It wouldn't mess up the carpet or anything else. And to my knowledge, last time I was there, those little racks are still there. And he's happy to know people are still having communion and trusting Jesus for their salvation. And he'd be happy to know that not only was he there for his mother, but his son was there for his mother. You learn from people like that. Now, here are the lessons, some of them that I've learned that I'm going to share today from R.C. Peebles. And this is what I learned. Take care of the widows and the orphans. When they left alone, without a partner, without a parent, you be there for them. Number 2, have a place for every tool and the tool in its place. That's true not only for carpentry, but artwork or whatever you're doing. If you have to spend all your time looking for what you need in order to do the project you're doing, you're not doing your project. You're looking for tools. That's your project. So have a place for every tool and a tool in every place. Number 3, clean up after the job. Not every minute during the job, but you work hard. You make a mess. You work on that project, and when it's done, though, you don't walk away from it. You go back and you clean up after the job. Number 4, don't start anything you don't plan to finish. Make the commitment. Give it your all. Number 5, leave everything better than you found it. When you go somewhere, when you start something, when you pick up, whatever you're doing, when you finish with it, do all you can to leave it better than when you found it. Another thing you may think is kind of funny to be in this kind of talk, but listen to music and learn to whistle. I was with my dad in Opelika, Alabama, at a hardware store, when I had finally figured out how to whistle. I've been working on that and blowing, and then all of a sudden, right in the middle of the hardware store, my dad's over there getting his stuff together, and this little kid is tagging along behind him. All of a sudden, out through the middle of the hardware store. Everybody turned to see what was going on, and I'm like, I can whistle. He'd listened to the Grand Ole Opry, He whistled while he worked. When he went into the shop, first thing he did was cut on the power and then to cut on the radio. Have some music going. Start whistling. Now, Walt Disney had a little thing called like Whistle While You Work and all that stuff. I heard it first from my dad. Number 7, never ask of anyone that which you're not willing to do. He couldn't stand people that were high and mighty and loftier than thou. Get under the house and crawl through the cobwebs. Get out there in the ditch and help dig it. If you're going to ask somebody to do it, you don't have to do it all the time. You don't have to do it at all. But you have to be willing to do it. And they have to know that you're willing to do it. And you're on the same level with them. Number 8, keep your standards higher than those who would lie about you. Now I learned that early on. There are going to be people, that aren't honest. They don't have integrity. They're going to lie. And a lot of times they're going to do it about you. But you got 2 choices. My dad said you can drop down to their standards and wallow in the mud with them and have the outcome they'll have. Or you can keep your standards higher. Do what's right for the betterment of the good of all and move on with higher standards. Number 9, overcome obstacles and keep moving. When you crush your knee, get up and keep going. When you cut your fingers off, figure out a way and keep going. When your family dies, keep going. Whatever you're having to face, overcome the obstacles and keep moving. And the direction, move forward. Number 10, work for those who are overlooked by others. He always did that. Now, one of the best examples is in that little town, there were a bunch of little girls that wanted to play softball. And they weren't the best in the world. They weren't even that good at first. And they were all short. Nobody wanted to be the coach. And this man that had arthritis got his pickup truck, he got the balls and the bats, and he got the ice chest and the cooler, and he got those girls, and he became the coach. Now here's the funny thing. Those girls been eating. Don't know what they ate, but they grew up to be close to 6 feet tall and could hit a softball a mile. So his little team ended up going to the state. And then everybody wanted to be the coach. But he worked for them while they were being overlooked by others to allow them to become what they could become. Number 11, honor your father and your mother. Know where he came from. Know that they did the best they could. Your responsibility, not to evaluate, but to love them and to honor them, and honor them with your life. And that's what he did. And finally, number 12, be a good neighbor. Now, when he got older, there were people that were older than him, and he'd go around and make sure that their bills got paid. Did errands for them. Checked on them on Sunday morning while all the church people were in church singing about Jesus. He's walking around town driving in his little pickup truck, living out Jesus. Going to check on them, make sure they're all right. Now, the reason I put that picture of somebody hammering, you might think that's my dad hammering. Well, it kind of is a tribute to him and his carpentry skills. But the person in the in the picture of this abstract carpenter is Mr. Shockley. He was our next door neighbor and had the best gardens you've ever seen. And his wife, I believe her name was Deidre. Anyway, they were great neighbors. And when he passed away, my dad would check in on her and make sure her bills were done. But one day while I was learning about art and watercolors and stuff, I asked Mr. Shockley if he'd pose for me. It was just to get that gesture, you know, that pose is really what I was looking for. And I really wasn't doing a portrait of Mr. Shockley. But he thought that was a portrait of him. So ever since then, I've called that Mr. Shockley. And the reason I'm talking about it because he was a good neighbor, he and his wife, to my dad and mom. And my dad was a good neighbor to them. And so that's a tribute to being a good neighbor right there, that painting. And Mr. Shockley took an old cow horn and hollowed it out and made me a horn I could blow. He used it for calling the dogs, hunting dogs. But he made one for me. I put that inside my pants, underneath my graduation robe. We had it outside on the football field. When I walked off that field, I reached under there and pulled that horn out. And I blew that as a tribute, not only to my mom and dad and all the people that helped me get to that point in my life, but also thinking about that good neighbor, Mr. Shockley. Now, all this mess on this little chest in here today, a little sawed-off hammer so you can get inside of a cabinet, a little racket where you can put your picture frames together, that little pocket knife he gave me so I could do some whittling and whistling, those old screwdrivers, all of that stuff. Somebody walks in this room right now, they're going to think that's some kind of nut with all that junk down there. But every one of those things my dad used, not only to take care of his family and others, build beautiful things, but he used them to teach me some valuable lessons. And so today, he's still alive, teaching that lesson. As long as I have breath, I'm going to keep sharing those same lessons with others. I invite you today to do the same thing, to take what you have learned here today and know that you can go out there now and you can have a great day. But you have to help make it a great day. And you have to do it not only for yourself, but for others. It won't be great. But folks, this is June the 7th. And on June the 7th, 1988, that was the only day that my dad had. And you know what? Today is the only one you have. So go on out there. Start whistling. Listen to some music. And apply these lessons to others every day. Because these lessons will make an impact on their lives too. And it's up to you. Now, I'm going to tell you some more jokes. Okay, I know you're waiting for that. It's a special day for me, folks. Bear with me, as I say. Why do presidents need a carpenter? Most of them need to have the cabinet fixed. I would tell you a longer joke, but I'm bored, so I'll just cut it short. My dad was great at fixing things around the house. You know, he said, those stair lifts for old people, those things really drive me up the wall. Now, Bobby's dad used to say, never cut corners. He's a lovely man, but a terrible carpenter. My dad believed that you learn by doing. Maybe that's why he threw me in the lake when I was 3. Mark Twain said, when I was a boy of 14, my father was the most ignorant person I knew. But when I got to be 21, I was astonished at how much he had learned in 7 years. Okay, I had to leave you on a light note there. But you go think about your life. And here's another little joke that'll help you. See, some people may not have known their dad, but there's been a father figure in your life. And it's like when the dad was walking by the garage and he looked over to his son and he said, you see that step ladder right there? He said, yeah. He said, well, I never knew my real dad, my real ladder. A real ladder, I love it. Okay, so if you have a step ladder or a stepdad, or if you didn't know one, but you had a friend down the street or somebody in an organization, learn from them. We're all in the same boat together. Now, pick out your favorite dumb dad joke. Go down to the church and have yourself a communion cup, and know because somebody else came along before you, you got a place to put it when you finish. Keep everything nice. Go out there now and do your thing. It's up to you. This is the day, the only one you have. Hoorah!